This is a screencast that will review Lesson 4 of the Sentence Writing Strategy. So first of all, we always want to think back about why are we learning this sentence writing strategy. And if you don't remember, I want you to open your booklet to the first page, and you're going to follow along as we do this. So our sentence writing strategy helps us write better sentences. It's going to help others understand what we write. And of course, the state of Ohio says that we have to do this. We have to learn to be good writers. I like for you to think of the big picture, though, when you go out into the real world, in college, filling out job applications. All of those things require good, clear writing. So what is a complete sentence? Starts with a capital letter, has end punctuation, has to have a subject and a verb, and it has to make sense. We show this by underlining a capital letter 3 times. Our end punctuation is a period, a question mark, and an exclamation point. We label our subject with an S. We label our verb by what type of verb it is, whether it's action, linking, or helping. And if it doesn't make sense, you'll see us write DMS, doesn't make sense. And we're going to get more into the writing of sentences. We've been really focused on identifying them, but we're really going to get into writing soon. So a simple sentence has only one independent clause. So to understand that, we have to know, well, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words with at least one subject and at least one verb. An independent clause, then, is a complete thought that can stand by itself. It has at least one subject, has at least one verb, and it expresses a complete thought all by itself. The subject tells who or what the sentence is about. It can be a person, a place, a thing, a quality, or an idea. A verb is a word that shows what the subject is doing or the state of being of the subject. And we talked about those first 8 linking verbs are our state of being verbs. And we can categorize them by action, linking, or helping. An action verb shows what the subject is doing. And this can be a physical body action like walk, run, or it could be a mind action or a mental action like think or want. A linking verb is a word that links the subject back to a predicate noun or a predicate adjective. So it's got to be on our list of 18 linking verbs, and there has to be a word after the linking verb that goes back to the subject, either a noun that renames the subject or an adjective that describes it. And these are our 18. We have our am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been. Our 5 senses, how does it feel? How does it look? How does it smell? How does it taste? How does it sound? And then we've got the mnemonic grabs, grow, remain, appear, become, and seem. And just with any verb, we can always change the form of it by adding ed, changing the form of it to be in past tense, sometimes having to add ing. So we've been using a mnemonic called mark that helps us mark out our imposters, which are infinitives and prepositional phrases, asking if there's an action, linking, or helping verb, rooting out the subject by asking who or what does this action, and then keying in on the beginning, ending, and meaning. Does it have a capital? Does it have a period? And does it make sense? Prepositional phrases tell where or when an action happens. They start with a preposition, and we're in the midst of memorizing our prepositions list right now, and they end with a noun or pronoun. And rule number 1 with prepositional phrases is they will never ever have a verb in them. Okay. An infinitive looks like a prepositional phrase sometimes because it has the word to at the beginning. And to can sometimes be a preposition if it's followed by a noun or a pronoun. But if it's followed by a verb, then it's an infinitive. To paint, to like, to be, to slowly, eat. So we really have to keep our eye on the word to. Sometimes it's a preposition if it's followed by a noun, but if it's followed by a verb, it's an infinitive. Then we started talking about these things called helping verbs. They help the main verb. There are 23 of them. If they come in front of another verb, and there can be 2 or 3 or even 4 of them in front of a main verb, then they're helping it along. These 8 are also our state of being verbs and also can be linking verbs. Sometimes we have sentences in unusual order. Down the street moved the bulls. We get rid of our imposter, prepositional phrase, down the street. We ask if there's a verb, moved. It's an action verb. And we ask who or what moved? The bulls moved. That's our subject. In the second example, we look for our imposter. To the movies is a prepositional phrase. Looks like it could have been an infinitive. It's got to at the beginning, but it's followed by a noun, to the movies. Now we look for our verb, and we've got 2 of them. Go is an action verb, and will is helping it along. So we ask, who or what will go? You will go. So that's the subject. So a simple sentence has one subject and one verb. In this pattern, it's an SV. It could also have 2 subjects and 1 verb. Mrs. Culleton and Mrs. Cirillo ran. Could have 2 subjects, 1 verb. So if we look at our examples here, Bill and Sue want to go to the movies. Crossing out our imposters, to go is an infinitive. To the movies is a prepositional phrase. Now we look for our verb, want. I have to ask myself, is it action, linking, or helping? It's not followed by another verb here. To go is an infinitive. That doesn't count as a verb anymore. We're ignoring it. So by itself, want is an action verb. Now I ask, who or what want? I have 2 subjects, Bill and Sue want. Jason and his friends work together. Don't see any imposters in here, so I'm not going to mark anything off, but I ask if there's a verb, work. Work is an action. Now I ask myself, who or what work together? I see 2 subjects, Jason and friends work together. If you were absent, I'm going to go ahead and do the learn by sharing together because you weren't in class to do these. I would suggest that you follow along and fix them as we go, and then that way when you go to do your sentences on your own, you've had a couple more examples to practice with. Here we go. All right. The car and truck are parked outside. I don't see an imposter. I see outside, but it's not followed by a noun, so it can't be a prepositional phrase. So I'm looking for any verbs. Verbs that were helping verbs that we memorized, verbs that were linking verbs that we memorized, or action. And I see are and parked. Parked is the main verb. I look and ask myself, is it action or linking? And it's action. That means are has to be helping it along. So now I ask myself, who or what are parked outside? And I see 2 subjects, the car and truck are parked outside. The park and sidewalks were covered with snow. Marking out any imposters I see with snow is a prepositional phrase. Now I'm looking for any verbs or verb phrases. I know covered is a verb, and I remember memorizing were as both a linking and a helping verb. So I know they're both verbs. Covered is an action verb. Were comes in front of it and helps it along. So it's a helping verb. In this case, anytime it's used in front of an action verb, it's never, ever, ever going to be a linking verb. Linking verbs can only be your main verb. If it's 2 or 3 verbs together, the front verbs are always helping verbs. Now I'm asking myself, who or what were covered? I see 2 subjects, the park and sidewalks were covered. The next example, hiding and seeking are fun activities. Looking for a verb, I remember memorizing are as a verb. I'm going to look to see, is there a verb after it that shows something else that that the subject could be doing. So fun, I can't fun, so that's not a verb. And activities isn't a verb. So are is acting by itself. I think it's a linking verb. So now I'm going to ask, who or what are fun activities? Hiding and seeking are fun activities. And I know this is a linking verb because there's a noun at the end that's going to link back here and rename my subjects. So what you're going to do now, if you were absent and you haven't done this yet, I want you to go back and do 4A on page 19, following the examples that we did, and then turn it in.